The galaxy had learned fear. Over countless centuries, empires had risen, shone for a moment, and then vanished under the crushing weight of the Vraxian dominion. Their name alone carried terror. Their fleets were massive, their weapons unstoppable, and their warriors showed no mercy. Entire worlds had been erased. Cities burned to ash. Life itself had been extinguished. Legends of their conquests traveled faster than light, whispered in every corner of the galaxy. No one dared resist, and no one survived. The Vraxians were not careless. They studied their prey. They waited patiently, watching, listening, calculating. When they struck, there was no warning. Stars were lit with fire, civilizations gone in a heartbeat. Their empire was vast, but not a single human world had fallen. Yet, at the edge of known space, orbiting a small yellow star called Kalira 7, a human colony drifted quietly. Its people lived simple lives. They farmed, taught their children, and dreamed of the stars. They had no great armies, no legendary weapons. What they had was Earth, and the knowledge that humanity never gave up, no matter the odds. On the Vraxian flagship, a shadow fell across the command deck. Admiral Thrax, a towering figure in silver armor, glared at the star maps projected before him. A single human world. No fleet detected, weak and defenseless. "Send the drones," he commanded. His lieutenants bowed. They had become arrogant over centuries of easy victories. They believed humans were no different from the empires before them. Fragile, naive, insignificant. They would soon learn how wrong they were. Back on the human colony ship, Captain Elena Mercer looked at the stars, her heart pounding. Earth had warned them. If the Dominion comes, call for backup. But backup was light years away. She felt the weight of every life aboard her ship. Families, children, elderly. They looked to her for courage she sometimes doubted she had. Then the alarm screamed. Red lights flashed. The sensors picked up massive energy signatures. The Dominion was here. Ships of unimaginable size and power filled the void. Elena's stomach twisted, but she forced herself to move. She ran to the command deck where her crew awaited orders, eyes wide with fear. "They expect fear," she said quietly, her voice trembling but firm. "We will give them something else." The colony ship's small defensive systems could barely scratch the Vraxian ships. Laser turrets were like flickering candles against their enemy's storm of energy. But Earth had promised help, a fleet hidden in hyperspace racing to them through the stars. Elena could only hope it arrived before it was too late. Outside, drones tore through outer colonies. Civilians screamed and fled. Cryobunks opened, children huddled in blankets, and parents held them tightly, unsure if they would see tomorrow. The Dominion moved with terrifying precision, striking without hesitation. Then a pulse rippled through the darkness of space, faint but growing. The humans noticed it first. The Vraxians noticed it too. Thrax's eyes narrowed. "What trick is this?" "Interceptors, move!" But the pulse became shape and shadow. Massive vessels emerging from hyperspace, moving with unyielding purpose. Hundreds of ships, sleek and gleaming, bristling with energy, formed a line across the void. Each carried the emblem of Earth, a symbol of hope, resilience, and unbroken courage. For centuries, the galaxy had said, "No one survives the Vraxian dominion." Now, humans were proving them wrong. Thrax's fingers tightened around the controls. Humans had no fleet, no hope. Yet here they stood, and their presence radiated defiance that even the Dominion could feel. Elena inhaled deeply. The moment had come. Humanity would fight, and even if they fell, the universe would know their courage. The first move had been made, and the stars themselves seemed to tremble at what was coming. The battle was about to begin. And the galaxy would never forget the day Earth answered fear with fire. The Vraxian fleet advanced, massive and terrifying, like shadows falling across the stars. Their weapons glowed with deadly energy, cutting through the void. Admiral Thrax expected humans to scatter, to surrender without a fight. He believed their colony ship would burn quietly, another forgotten ember in the galaxy's history. But Captain Elena Mercer and her crew did not panic. The human fleet moved with precision, forming lines and spreading like a shield across the system. Every ship, from the smallest scout to the largest battleship, seemed to breathe as one organism. Earth had prepared them for this moment. Target the lead ships. "Focus fire!" Thrax barked. Plasma beams tore through space, striking the humans with terrifying force. Explosions lit the darkness as smaller vessels were ripped apart. Crew members held their breath, feeling the shock waves through their hull. Fear pressed on them, heavy and suffocating. Elena gritted her teeth. Hold formation. Keep moving. Don't give them an opening, she commanded. Her voice carried over the chaos, steady and strong. She could see the fear in her crew's eyes, but she refused to let it show in her own. Humanity would not break today, not here, not ever. The first wave of Vraxian fighters lunged forward, swarming the human ships with lightning speed. The humans dodged, turned, and fired in return. Their lasers glimmered like sparks in the dark, striking with deadly accuracy. Each hit brought a small cheer, a glimmer of hope. Every victory, no matter how small, reminded them why they fought. A massive explosion shook the lead human battleship. Smoke poured from the engines, alarms screamed. Crew members struggled to maintain control. Elena felt her chest tighten, but she kept moving. Divert power to shields. We are not done yet. In the midst of battle, the humans discovered something the Vraxians had not expected: adaptability. Every attack the Dominion launched, the humans countered with ingenuity. Mines floated in space, magnetic nets slowed the enemy ships, and fighter pilots used daring maneuvers that even the Vraxians could not anticipate. From the command deck, Elena watched one young pilot, barely 18, weave through a formation of massive Vraxian cruisers. She dodged plasma blasts and fired her small lasers with pinpoint accuracy. Each shot found its target, sending enemy ships spiraling into destruction. Elena smiled, pride swelling in her chest. Humanity was small, but it was clever, fearless, and relentless. Thrax roared in fury. This is impossible. They should be nothing. His voice trembled with disbelief. Every cruiser he lost was another insult to centuries of domination. His soldiers, the fiercest warriors in the galaxy, were being outsmarted by humans, creatures they had considered weak and primitive. The battle raged for hours. Explosions lit the void. Stars seemed to shiver under the intensity. Humans fought not just with weapons, but with courage. Every life mattered, every act of bravery counted. They were ordinary beings standing against gods of war, yet their hearts burned brighter than the Vraxian fire. And then, a signal pulsed through the human fleet. Reinforcements from Earth were closer than anyone realized. Ships emerged from hyperspace, hundreds more, bristling with power, their engines roaring like thunder across the void. Elena felt hope surge through her veins. Humanity was not alone. The Dominion had expected a colony to burn quietly. They had expected surrender. Instead, they faced the unbreakable human spirit, multiplied across a fleet that refused to yield. The first clash had proven one undeniable truth: humans did not fear death. They fought for life, for hope, for each other. Elena clenched her fists. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, the galaxy began to understand that Earth would not bow. Not now. Not ever. The human fleet had weathered the first storm. Smoke and fire floated in the void, marking where the Vraxian ships had fallen. Yet the battle was far from over. Captain Elena Mercer stood on the command deck, her hands gripping the console. Her heart pounded, but her mind was clear. Humanity was alive. Humanity had fought, and now they would strike back. Admiral Thrax seethed aboard his flagship. He had underestimated humans. They were supposed to crumble, supposed to beg for mercy. Instead, they had endured wave after wave, adapting faster than his commanders could anticipate. "Prepare the war engines," he roared. "Crush them. Leave nothing." The Vraxians surged forward, but this time the humans did not wait to react. They moved with purpose. Ships weaved through the battlefield like threads in a tapestry, turning their size into advantage, striking from angles the Dominion could not predict. Small fighters darted between massive cruisers, laying explosive charges, hacking enemy systems, and retreating before the Vraxians could respond. Elena's eyes scanned the holographic map. She saw a chance, an opening near the largest Vraxian battleship, its shields down momentarily after deflecting a human missile salvo. "All squadrons converge," she commanded. "Hit hard and fast. Show them we fight with everything we have." The human fighters surged like a storm. Explosions erupted across the enemy ship's hull. Engines failed, weapons went dark, and the once imposing cruiser began to drift, powerless. For the first time in centuries, a Vraxian warship was truly defeated by human hands. Cheers erupted across the human fleet, and even those in cryobunks felt the hope radiate through space. Elena allowed herself a brief smile. They were winning, but she knew this was only the beginning. The Vraxians were relentless. they would strike back with even more fury. Every decision had to be precise, every maneuver calculated. Lives depended on it. Amid the chaos, a young engineer named Rena worked tirelessly in the engine room. Sparks flew around her as she rerouted power, repaired damaged systems, and kept the ship moving. She thought of her family, far away on the colony surface, unaware of how close they had come to destruction. Her hands shook, but she did not stop. Humanity depended on her, and she would not fail. Above, Thrax's rage grew. The humans were not just surviving, they were pushing him back. They had turned fear into courage, weakness into strength. Every cruiser they destroyed, every fighter they outmaneuvered was a blow to his pride. How can these insignificant creatures resist? He growled, voice echoing through the command chamber. The human fleet pressed their advantage. They struck Vraxian supply lines, disabled engines, and severed communications. The Dominion had come expecting an easy conquest, and instead, they found themselves trapped in a fight they could not predict. Every human ship was a puzzle, every tactic a surprise. The Dominion was powerful, but the humans were unpredictable, clever, and united. Elena watched as a massive Vraxian battleship prepared to fire on a colony. She felt a flash of fear, but she suppressed it. "We protect life," she whispered. "Always." The human fleet moved like a shield around the colony, intercepting the blast with coordinated precision. The enemy weapon disintegrated in space, unable to touch a single human life. For the first time, the galaxy witnessed a truth it had never seen. Humans did not only endure. Humans fought back. Humans struck with courage, cunning, and an unbreakable will. Elena felt pride and sorrow mix in her chest. Many ships had fallen. Many brave souls had been lost, but humanity was alive. They had survived the impossible. And in that moment, she knew something powerful. The Vraxians would never look at humans the same way again. The first human counterattack had succeeded. But as space around them still burned with enemy fire, Elena knew one thing clearly. This war was only beginning. And humans would rise stronger than ever. The battlefield stretched across the void like a storm frozen in space. The remnants of destroyed Vraxian ships floated like wreckage in a silent sea of stars. Smoke and energy trails marked the path of humanity's fight. Captain Elena Mercer stood on the bridge of the lead ship, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Every heartbeat was a reminder of the lives at stake, and the power they had discovered within themselves. Admiral Thrax could feel his control slipping. The humans had survived wave after wave of his most skilled commanders, turning every strike into an opportunity. For the first time in centuries, he felt doubt. His fleet, the finest in the galaxy, was faltering against creatures he had considered primitive. He roared orders, his voice cracking with fury. "Destroy them! Burn them! Leave nothing alive!" But the humans had learned something Thrax could not anticipate. They fought not just with weapons, but with heart. Small squads of fighters darted through enemy lines, disabling weapons, sabotaging engines, and rescuing trapped comrades. Their courage radiated across the void, and even the smallest act of defiance sent ripples through the Dominion's ranks. Elena's mind raced as she coordinated maneuvers. "Divert all energy to forward shields. Prepare a strike on the central cruiser cluster. We hit them together fast and hard." Her crew responded without hesitation. Every human aboard, from the youngest pilot to the oldest engineer, moved as one. Their unity was a force the Vraxians could not understand. Outside, space erupted in explosions. The humans pressed forward, taking advantage of every weakness they discovered in the Dominion's formation. Plasma blasts collided, hulls burned, and once imposing cruisers fell in chains of fire. For every human ship lost, 2 Vraxian vessels went down. The balance of power was shifting. In the chaos, Elena caught sight of a young fighter pilot named Jalen weaving through the enemy lines. He was barely 19, yet his skill was unmatched. He dove between 2 massive Vraxian ships, laying mines in their engine ports before retreating, a grin on his face despite the danger. His courage inspired the fleet, reminding everyone that even the smallest human could change the course of battle. Thrax's fury grew with every ship lost. He had never encountered such audacity. "Impossible," he shouted, striking the control panel with his massive gauntlet. "They are not supposed to fight like this. They are weak. They cannot win." But the humans did not fear him. They had learned that fear was the weapon the Vraxians relied on. They had turned it back on the Dominion. Every strike, every clever maneuver, every life saved was proof that humans were unpredictable, unstoppable in their own way. The human fleet formed a perfect wedge, cutting through the heart of the Dominion formation. The central cruiser cluster, the core of Vraxian power, was exposed. Missiles, lasers, and energy pulses fired in perfect coordination. One by one, the massive ships faltered, losing shields, engines, and weapons. The Dominion's might, long considered absolute, was crumbling before ordinary humans. Elena felt a mix of pride and sorrow. Many brave humans had fallen, their names now written in the stars. Yet the victory was undeniable. Humanity had survived. Humanity had struck fear into the heart of the conquerors of the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the Vraxian Dominion trembled. Their greatest admirals, their finest warriors, had never faced such defiance. The galaxy had expected humans to bow, to vanish quietly. Instead, Earth had delivered something no one had predicted, a force of courage, unity, and unbreakable will. Elena looked at her fleet, battered but unbowed. She knew the battle was far from over, yet hope blazed in every eye. Humanity had shown its heart. They had taken the first step in a fight that would echo across the stars for generations to come. The Vraxians had expected fear. Humans had delivered something else: fire. The battlefield was a chaos of fire and shadow. Vraxian ships, once symbols of unstoppable power, now floated in pieces, drifting silently through the void. Humanity had survived the first waves, but the fight was far from over. Captain Elena Mercer felt the weight of every life aboard her fleet, every hope resting on her shoulders. She could not let them down. "Status report," she demanded, voice calm despite the tension. Sensors blinked with damage reports, fuel levels, and weapon status. The young lieutenant at the console hesitated, then said, "We are holding, Captain. Some ships are damaged, but the fleet is intact." Elena nodded, determination burning in her eyes. "Good, we push forward. We hit their command ships. We end this fight." Admiral Thrax aboard his massive flagship seethed. The humans were not only surviving, they were pressing forward, striking at the heart of his fleet. His pride and fury clashed in every movement, making his orders harsher, faster, more desperate. "Crush them.
Leave nothing alive."
They will pay for their insolence," he roared. But the humans had learned to fight as one. Squadrons darted between massive cruisers, laying mines in engine ports, sabotaging weapons, and rescuing trapped comrades. They moved with ingenuity that no Vraxian had ever seen. Every move was unexpected. Every strike carried hope, courage, and a stubborn refusal to surrender. Elena watched as one of the colony's youngest fighters, barely 16, maneuvered through enemy lines to save a disabled ship. He attached a magnetic tow, pulling it out of danger while under fire. Elena's chest swelled with pride. These were not super soldiers or elite warriors. They were humans, ordinary in every way, yet extraordinary in spirit. Outside, the Vraxian fleet began to falter. Their ships had never faced an enemy that refused to break. Every cruiser they lost weakened their formations. Every fighter destroyed echoed through their ranks. Fear, something they had spread for centuries, now touched their own hearts. "Prepare the main strike," Elena ordered. "We aim for their command nexus. If we take it, we can end this battle today." The fleet responded instantly. Engines roaring, weapons primed, hearts aligned in one shared purpose. In the distance, the Vraxian command ship loomed like a dark fortress, its shields pulsed with deadly energy, its weapons ready to annihilate anything in range. Thrax's eyes glimmered with rage. "They think they can destroy me?" he growled. "They are fools. I will show them true power." The humans did not flinch. They had lost friends, they had seen death and destruction, yet they pressed on. Their unity and courage became a weapon more powerful than any laser, more deadly than any missile. They fought for each other, for their homes, for the future of humanity itself. Elena felt the weight of command press upon her, yet she did not hesitate. "Fire!" she shouted. Waves of missiles, energy pulses, and laser fire surged toward the Vraxian command nexus. Every ship contributed. Every crew member played a part. The combined human effort created a storm no enemy could withstand. The command ship trembled under the onslaught. Shields faltered. Weapons went dark. Thrax's fury turned to disbelief. He had ruled the galaxy with fear, yet here he faced beings who refused to bow, beings who fought with heart and courage. In the command deck, Elena allowed herself a moment to breathe. Around her, the fleet cheered as pieces of the Dominion shattered. The tide had turned. Humanity, small and underestimated, had proven that courage, unity, and hope could defeat even the most powerful empire in the galaxy. For centuries, the Vraxians had expected obedience. Humans had delivered something else: defiance, brilliance, and unbreakable spirit. And this was only the beginning. Elena's gaze swept across the fleet, battered but undefeated. She whispered almost to herself, "We fight for life, we fight for each other, and we will not be broken." The universe was changing, and humanity was leading the way. The battlefield was a storm of fire and shadows. The Vraxian fleet, once unstoppable, now reeled from the relentless human assault. Debris floated like ghosts in the void, marking where proud ships had fallen. Captain Elena Mercer stood on the bridge of her lead ship, heart pounding yet her mind razor-sharp. Humanity was alive, and for the first time, she felt the weight of victory within reach. Admiral Thrax roared in fury aboard his flagship. His eyes blazed with disbelief. Humans were not breaking. They were pushing forward, striking at the heart of his command fleet. "Impossible," he bellowed. "They cannot resist. They are only humans. Destroy them." But humans were more than Thrax had ever imagined. They were courage and ingenuity made flesh. Every fighter, every battleship, moved with unity that no Vraxian technology could predict. Pilots twisted through deadly corridors of fire. Engineers repaired systems faster than enemy strikes could destroy them, and each crew member acted with unwavering purpose. Elena's eyes scanned the holographic map. The Vraxian command nexus remained their greatest threat. Its shields pulsed with deadly energy, a fortress of metal and fire. All squadrons converge on the command nexus. Precision and speed. "Every life matters," she ordered. Her voice, calm yet fierce, inspired the entire fleet. In the engine room, young engineer Rena worked tirelessly, rerouting power, repairing damaged engines, and ensuring that every ship could reach the battle. Sparks flew around her as alarms blared, but she did not falter. "We survive," she whispered. "We fight. We live." The human fleet surged forward, moving as one unstoppable force. Missiles, lasers, and energy pulses carved through the Vraxian defenses. Shields faltered. Weapons went offline. The command ship shook under the relentless assault. The Vraxians, masters of fear, were now trembling under the courage of those they had considered insignificant. Elena felt a surge of emotion. Loss weighed on her, the friends, the pilots, the crew who had fallen. But so did pride. Humanity was not a collection of weak, fragile beings. They were brilliant, brave, and unbroken. Every life lost had strengthened their resolve. Every strike they had taken had taught them how to fight smarter, faster, harder. Thrax's voice cracked with rage and disbelief. "How can they endure this?" His soldiers looked to him for guidance, but even their discipline wavered. The humans were not just fighting, they were winning, and each victory burned like a fire in the hearts of the oppressed, echoing through the galaxy. The final assault began. Squadrons weaved between massive cruisers, evading plasma storms and intercepting drones. Engineers kept the ships running at peak efficiency, while pilots executed daring maneuvers that no algorithm could predict. One young fighter, barely 16, darted through enemy fire to disable a cannon targeting a civilian colony. He returned to the fleet battered and exhausted but alive, and his bravery inspired every human watching. Elena's hands gripped the command console. The command nexus was exposed, shields broken, weapons offline. "Now," she whispered almost to herself. The fleet unleashed everything they had. Beams of energy cut through the nexus like sunlight through storm clouds. Explosions rocked the Vraxian flagship. Smoke, fire, and light filled the void as centuries of domination began to crumble. Thrax screamed in disbelief as his empire faltered. The humans had endured. The humans had fought back. The humans had struck at the heart of his power, and for the first time, the Dominion understood what the galaxy had never known. Earth's children were not to be underestimated. Elena watched the flagship collapse into the void, the last pulse of fire marking the end of centuries of fear. Tears ran down her face, not just for the fallen, but for the triumph of the human spirit. Humanity had survived. Humanity had delivered hope. Humanity had shown the galaxy that courage and heart could defy even the greatest powers. She whispered, voice soft but resolute. "We fight for life. We fight for each other, and we will never be broken." The universe was watching, and for the first time it realized that humans were a force that could not be ignored. The void was quiet now. The fires of battle had dimmed, leaving only drifting wreckage and the faint glow of distant stars. Captain Elena Mercer stood on the bridge of her lead ship, her eyes scanning the remnants of the shattered Vraxian fleet. The silence was strange, almost sacred, as if the galaxy itself were holding its breath. They had done it. Humanity had survived the impossible. They had faced the mightiest conquerors of the galaxy and had not only endured, they had struck back and won. Every ship that remained carried the weight of bravery, loss, and hope. Elena felt the weight herself. So many had fought, so many had died, yet their courage had shaped the course of history. Admiral Thrax's flagship lay in ruins, drifting silently into the dark. The greatest power in the galaxy had been humbled by humans. Across the cosmos, stories would spread of a species that refused to bow, refused to surrender, and fought with heart and ingenuity against impossible odds. Elena walked slowly across the bridge, her footsteps echoing in the quiet. Her crew looked to her, weary but alive, their eyes shining with pride and exhaustion. She smiled at them, a mix of sorrow and triumph in her gaze. "We did it," she said softly. "We showed them who we are. We fought not for glory but for each other, and we survived." Outside, smaller human vessels tended to the wounded and collected survivors from destroyed ships. Every act of compassion, every rescue reinforced the truth that humanity's strength was not only in weapons but in heart. They had fought with courage, but they had also fought with love for family, for friends, for their species. The young fighter pilot Jalen returned from a scouting mission, his face smudged with soot and sweat, yet his eyes sparkled. "Captain," he said, "we saved everyone we could. The colonies are safe." Elena placed a hand on his shoulder, pride swelling in her chest. "You all did more than we could have imagined. Humanity will remember today," she said. In the aftermath, the galaxy began to take notice. Civilizations that had cowered in fear of the Vraxians now whispered a new truth. Earth's children were not weak. Humanity was clever, courageous, and unstoppable when united. Tales of bravery, sacrifice, and ingenuity spread like light through the darkness, inspiring hope in the hearts of countless beings. Even in victory, Elena felt the cost. Ships had been lost, brave souls had perished, and families torn apart. But she also felt something else, an unshakable belief in the human spirit. Every life lost had strengthened their resolve. Every triumph had proven that they were capable of more than anyone had ever imagined. The stars shimmered around them, silent witnesses to what had been achieved. Humanity had not only survived, they had become a beacon. A message burned across the cosmos, unspoken but clear. Every empire falls. Every conqueror falters. But Earth endures. Elena took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history upon her shoulders. The Dominion had underestimated them, and the galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. Humans were more than survivors. Humans were fighters. Humans were hope itself. She looked at the horizon where distant stars glimmered like promises. "We will rebuild," she said quietly, her voice carrying both sorrow and determination. "We will grow stronger, and we will protect life wherever it exists. This is who we are." In that moment, the first human fleet, scarred, battered, but unbroken, moved as one across the void. Every pilot, every engineer, every captain carried the same resolve. They had faced annihilation and emerged victorious. They had faced the greatest empire the galaxy had ever known, and had proved that courage, ingenuity, and unity could defy even the impossible. And so, a new dawn rose for humanity. Not one of conquest or dominance, but one of hope, resilience, and the enduring power of the human spirit. The galaxy had expected a simple colony to fall. Earth delivered a fleet, and with it, a lesson the universe would never forget. Humans fight, humans endure, and humans prevail. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if celebrating the unyielding light of a species that would never be broken.